Okay, it being 5 p.m., the Lafourche Parish Council meeting of February 11, 2020 is hereby called to order. Ms. Carleen, can you please conduct roll call?
Yes, sir. Mr. Jones. Here. Mr. Adams. Here. Mr. Grow. Here. Mr. Melvin. Here. Mr. Wendell. Here. Mr. Perilou. Here. Mr. Otan.
Here.
Ms. Boudreau. Here. Mr. Lorraine. Here. And Mr. Chesson.
I'd like to remind everyone, if you plan on speaking in front of the council, feel free to fill out a blue form by the door and bring it up to the council clerk. With that said, if everyone could please rise, invocation will be led by Mr. Michael Grow, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mr. Jim Wendell.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Lord, we come to you tonight asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion. Allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that affect Lafourche Parish. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank you for attending our discussions of Lafourche Parish government tonight. With that said, we'll move into item A. Approval of minutes. Number one, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the January 28, 2020 special session. Got a motion by Mr. Perilou, second by Ms. Boudreau. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item number two, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the January 28, 2020 regular session. Once again, I got a motion by Mr. Perilou, second by Mr. Wendell. Is there any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any nays? Motion passes 9-0, Ms. Carleen. Item B, Lafourche Parish Outstanding Citizen. We have none tonight. Item C, Mr. Ben Marlborough is running about 2 or 3 minutes behind. He said he had a computer problem, so we'll defer that for a few minutes, Ms. Carleen. He should be here shortly. So what brings us to item D, Legal Advisor Report. We have none. Item E, Engineers, Architects Reports. All right, who wants to go first? Great to see y'all. Glad to see two of y'all here tonight. Yep, just turn the little switch on. There you go, John.
Good evening, John Plaisance with GIS Engineering. I don't have a fancy slideshow for y'all tonight. We don't have a project under construction, but we do have one, the drainage improvements along West 217th Street. We'll be having a pre-construction conference tomorrow morning, so they should be starting that probably right after Mardi Gras.
Excellent. Anyone have any questions of Mr. John? There'll be none. Thank you for that update. We appreciate it. Okay, Jack, you have the floor.
Good evening, Jack Plaisance, 115 Picciola Parkway with Picciola and Associates. So I have a couple of engineering projects to give you some updates on. So we're wrapping things up with Road Sales Tax 24D Phase L, roadway and drainage improvements. This work started back in August. Huey Stockstill is wrapping up the project this week and should finish ahead of the February 26th completion date. So I did throw up a few pictures of some completed work. You see Chesterley Street here in LaRose with resurfaced street. Also East 7th in LaRose. This is Hamilton on the upper left. Also in LaRose and Chesterley again, kind of facing Bayou Lafourche. And we had good weather on Friday, so we took our drone out. This is Hamilton Street and 308 in LaRose. So that street was resurfaced, kind of looking towards Bayou Lafourche. And then turning around towards the 40s, that's also Hamilton, resurfaced in LaRose, and kind of going down the street with our drone. Second engineering, the other engineering project is the Choctaw Levee Rehab in District 2. You know that we've been in the permitting phase with the Corps of Engineers for near about a year, and we are awaiting their mitigation assessment for this project. So basically, the Corps of Engineers has the ball on this, and we're anticipating that they will give us the final mitigation statement soon. I usually give you some updates on the CDBG projects that we're doing management work for. Dugas Canal in the Thibodaux area is substantially complete. The final change order was processed recently, and the project is being closed out. So we'll continue to monitor the work during the one-year warranty period. And lastly, the Lafourche Community Center project with onshore construction. They're continuing with the finishing work, exterior and interior work at the community center. We are discussing a change order to add time and possibly some enhancements to the project. And the contract is actually late at this point by a couple of weeks, but we do anticipate some extra time being awarded with the change order. So that's what I have to say. Thank you. Any questions?
Anyone have any questions of Mr. Jack? So just for the council, I did discuss about the days, extra days, and as opposed to having several meetings where we discuss extra days, I prefer that they just bring it at one time, a realistic idea. So anyway, I thank you for that. Jack, if no one has any questions for Jack, we'll move along. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
We have any other engineers, architect reports? Okay, it brings us to item F, public wishing to address the council, public hearings, agenda items, et cetera. Ms. Carleen. Okay, we have no one. Oh, we have one. You can come straight to the mic.
He's not here. He asked me to do it. My name is Barbara Hill. I'm from Lockport in Rita.
Just give your address, Ms. Hill, and your first name.
167 East Fontanelle Street in Lockport. That's Rita. And my purpose for standing here is in reference to the community action interim, I guess, director. They had a meeting last night. The Community Action Advisory Board was called together, okay, thinking that was a meeting, a regular meeting. They did have on the agenda about the Community Action Director, but we knew nothing. We knew nothing, the committee, on the board that we are part of. I know we are advisory. We're not the final word, but we didn't have any input. We didn't have any information about what was going to happen other than the agenda that was mailed out to us. Who was going to be interviewed, when they were being interviewed. Well, what are we? Nothing? We are just a stick in the mud just to be there. We want to participate. We want to help out. This young woman who has been the interim director, plus her other position, has been doing the work. Has anything been brought against her? Has she fallen short of? I have not heard. I got on with the board. I've been a part of community action before. But what are we supposed to be doing? Do all of you know that this director was going to be selected last night at the Community Action Advisory Board meeting?
So, Ms. Hill, I know on the agenda that was published, we were advised that someone would be recommended, there would be an interview process. So I was aware of that from the time that the agenda came out. I can only speak on my behalf. But we haven't gotten to that point. If you want to speak when we get to that actual resolution,
Okay.
You're more than welcome to come back up, and I'll ask for you to come back up again and speak if you'd like.
One more comment.
Yes, ma'am.
I was doing this to Mr. Sylvester Spears. He's on his way. He's stuck in traffic.
That's
but I
fine.
would not be a citizen of the community knowing that community action needs to have representation. So I decided to come up.
Well, thank you, Ms. Hill. And once again, it's an important position that we've been talking about for a long time, so I think we'd be okay with letting a few people speak when we get to that resolution. I think we'd all be in agreement with that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Hill. So before we move on, you want me to do a deviation? We haven't gotten to the ordinance yet, so you still want to deviate to go back to that? You want to take a couple minute recess? All right. I'll tell you what, I'll entertain about a 5-minute motion from somebody. 5-minute recess. Got a motion by Mike Grove for a 5-minute recess, second by Mr. Pearl. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes to get ready, Ben. Okay, we'll entertain a motion to return back to our agenda. Got a motion by Mike Grove, second by Councilman Wendell. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. I entertain a motion to deviate back to item C3. Got a motion on the floor by Councilman Melvin, second by Councilman Adams. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Ben Marlborough, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Otan, and thank you all for having us here tonight. Ben Marlborough, do I still have to give my address for the record?
Yes.
Ben Marlborough, 1016 St. Mary Street, Thibodaux, Louisiana. I'm the director of the Bayou Lafourche Freshwater District, and I'm kind of here to give kind of a update on the recently completed derelict vessel removal project. I got a brief presentation, mostly pictures to kind of show the progress of the project. Obviously, this was a project that we talked about for many, many years. These are some of the press releases we put up front. We got a lot of media buzz for this. I think generally everybody agrees that this was a project that really needed to be done, working several years ago, and I'll get into how a lot of this got initiated. But many years we kicked around the idea of going and taking these vessels out. We tried to figure out which government entity, whether local, state, or federal, was actually responsible to actually take these derelict vessels. Some of these had been in there for upwards of 20, 25 years. Most of the vessels were concentrated between 182 and the Intercoastal, so between Raceland and LaRose. So long story short, we couldn't really identify a specific agency that would step up to the plate and really contribute any types of funds to take these out. So a partnership between Lafourche Parish government and the Freshwater District was born. We worked for this for several years, and we're finally able to get it done at the end of last year. So I'll highlight kind of how this all got started. And Chairman Otan, if you can chime in anytime when these pictures, I think there's some dates on here, but this is 2014 was the Bayou Lafourche Cleanup, which is an annual event that's hosted by BITNEP. Chairman Otan has a big group down in Lockport, probably the largest group that participates in the cleanup. And this whole issue of derelict vessels, obviously you see the boats and the vessels as you pass up and down the bayou, and a lot of them were eyesores. Obviously the one that probably sticks out in most people's head was the Joan of Arc, which was just across the bayou from Bollinger Shipyard. That's the one that's most visible from the highway. But the one that really got all of this brought to the forefront was what we thought was a sunken barge. And at this cleanup this year in 2014, one of Chairman Otan's volunteers was driving a mud boat, actually this specific mud boat, taking trash out of the bayou, and hit the sunken barge, which wasn't marked. There was nothing. This kind of shows the damage. I can't really zoom in, but you can see this is the bottom of the mud boat, and they really, it could have been way worse than it actually was. There was a little bit of damage done to the boat. I'm sure the folks in the boat probably weren't too excited about it, were a little startled. So once this happened, I believe Chairman Otan and some of his volunteers actually went out and staked the sunken vessel off, and I have some pictures of it as we go further into but that really got all this started, that this is not just an eyesore, this is not just something that we need to not only take care of, but change the culture of people bringing vessels into Bayou Lafourche, abandoning them, allowing them to be sunk, and then waiting for somebody else to come through and take care of them. So as I said, we worked on this for several years, and you guys and girls, the council came up and ponied up $200,000 to put towards this project. We weren't exactly sure how much we could get done with that, And then the freshwater district put up $50,000. And we kind of took the lead on implementing the program and making sure that the project was seen through. We were very fortunate. We identified 12 targets between 182 to LaRose. Initially, we weren't certain that we would be able to take them all out with the amount of money that we had in the budget. Fortunately, the bids came in, and we were actually able to take out and remove all 12. So these are just, I'm just going to flip through some photos, but I would certainly be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the participation of Bollinger Shipyard. So Bollinger, we approached Bollinger because the budget was so tight to see if they would allow us to utilize the northern portion of their shipyard, that area of their shipyard that's not really utilized, for a staging area for these vessels. And that was a huge cost savings to the project, because that meant the contractor didn't have to mobilize to a disposal facility and then remobilize back to the site to get the next vessels. They were literally able to grab them and turn and put them on the bank at Bollinger. And then Lafourche Parish government stepped up and is going to ultimately take what vessels are still there off to their final resting place. So the contractor took all of the metal, the larger steel hulls, and hauled them off when he demobilized from the site. So the only thing left, and I'll get through those pictures, is the wood and fiberglass boats, which you guys, solid waste department, can handle. So this is obviously a picture of the Joan of Arc. This is the vessel that was immediately across from Bollinger. Couvion Group is a group out of Belchase. They were the lowest bid. They were the removal contractor. They did a fantastic job. If you looked at the first slide, they mobilized, and in, I think it was 11 days, they were completely gone. So they came here, got them all out, got all 12 vessels out in 11 days, and were gone before the first of the year. So they did a great job. We had a few issues. A couple of the vessels had kind of relocated themselves, but we worked through them, and Couvion was certainly accommodating to that. This is other pictures of the Joan of Arc. This is kind of this is a signature photograph you all will be getting. We're going to be presenting one of these pictures to the council and the administration as well. Like I said, this is probably the most recognized vessel along the whole bayou. It had been there many, many years, and Chairman Otan asked if we can do our best to keep that back section of that vessel in place, in one piece, when we removed it, so that it could be salvaged, and we did. But this is kind of like the monumental picture that shows the project and the success of the project. So this was that barge, what we thought was a sunken barge. These are the same PVC pipes that Chairman Otan and his volunteer group from the Bayou Cleanup put back in 2014. What we found was it wasn't actually a barge. It was the back of a tugboat. This is what was there. Completely submerged. You could tell they kind of cut back as the water levels fluctuated, so it would always remain submerged. So this is what that little mud boat hit underneath the water. So significant hazards to navigation for sure. And it was a good thing to finally get this out. The contractor hauled this off so the parish government doesn't have to deal with that at Bollinger. This was another vessel. This is a picture of the staging yard to kind of give you an idea of the size and the scope of some of these boats. This was a vessel that's up towards Raceland, being pumped out and grabbed onto. This is an aerial shot of that vessel. And then this is it later that evening, once they got it pumped out enough to where they can get straps underneath it and lift it. Here's some stuff that we put up in the staging yard. And this is kind of a zoomed out area. This was one of the boats that was tied up. This is after it moved. And here's a couple more. And I'm sure if you've all passed, this is a picture that shows the Bollinger staging facility. So I really believe that if Bollinger wouldn't have been so receptive to this project and allowed us to use this staging area at no cost for a year, that I think we would have been over budget and we would have been back trying to find more money to complete this project. So that was a huge deal. They they don't really want to take a whole bunch of credit for it, but without them and without their partnership, I don't think the project happens as fast as it did. These are other aerial pictures showing some of the vessels up on the bank. So another, I brought, as you saw when I walked in late, once again, I apologize. I had with me Mr. Ryan Perk, who's the Executive Director of Friends of Bayou Lafourche. They handle a lot of our public relations, public outreach. They were very integral in this. Obviously, these types of projects, whether it's vessel removal or derelict vessels or derelict buildings, these are always sensitive deals. So we made sure that we put out enough information out to the public to let people know what was about to happen. Unfortunately, some of that information was used kind of against us, where we started having people come into the vessel, the locations, and trying to remove them or move them or salvage things from them once the contract immobilized. But we're working through all those issues, and we don't really see anything. But they played a real integral part. They were down there for the duration of the project, documenting all of these with these photographs and drone footage. And then Josh Bordelon, who's with me, he's our Bayou Crew foreman. He kind of was the project manager. He got to deal with all the excitement for the 11 days of taking these vessels out of the bayou. And they did a great job. Like I said, Couvillon Group was the contractor. They did an excellent job. And for the most part, everything went without incident. The vessels are still there. So now the Lafourche Parish Government Solid Waste Department is going to start kind of etching away at the vessels that are still there, the wooden and fiberglass ones, and ultimately haul them off to their final disposal site. So it was a great project. It was great to see, obviously, two government entities get together and figure out how to fund this thing, how to get it done. Obviously, the wheels of government don't work as fast as we would like. We started talking about this in 2014. We had some issues with our existing ordinance that we had to tighten up, and we did, and then ultimately it got done. So certainly not as fast as we'd have liked, but it's done, and obviously couldn't have done it without Lafourche Parish. You guys put up a lion's share of the money. We just kind of managed the effort on y'all behalf, and once again, can't say enough about Bollinger Shipyards, the Friends of Bayou Lafourche, and the contractor. The last thing I'll say before I'll answer any questions anybody might have is I can't come out here without giving a shameless plug to our friends, the Friends of Bayou Lafourche. They have an event, St. Patrick's Day on the Bayou. It's in Thibodaux on March 14th. It's a really neat event. We have boat races in the Bayou. Basically, in a nutshell, their function, Friends of Bayou Lafourche, is basically to bring outreach, recreation components, getting people access to Bayou Lafourche. The more people we can get into Bayou Lafourche, the easier our job as the freshwater district is. We have 65 miles of bayou that we really maintain, from Donaldsonville to La Rose is the area that we really police and maintain. And we have 4 people in the bayou on a daily basis, right? So it's just an impossible feat to be all over and have eyes and ears everywhere. So the more people we can get into the bayou, give them access to the bayou, it's more people that can alert us of somebody dumping, can alert us of somebody building a bulkhead out into the bayou, so we can get ahead of that, so that it alleviates issues further down the road. So what they do is bring awareness, give access, and all of their money that's raised on this event is actually going to brick and mortar projects in the bayou, which is going to do that. They partnered with you guys to do a really neat project at Leighton Launch, which is a huge success. I think there are some new faces I don't recognize, but a lot of you all that I do recognize were there for the ribbon cutting, and shortly thereafter there were already people fishing. There's people using it all the time. So we hope to see this organization continue to grow and have facilities like that up and down the bayou, from Donaldsonville all the way down to Port Fourchon. So that's really it. I'll certainly take any questions from anybody that may have any.
Go ahead, Mike.
So thank you for coming. It was a really good project. I was glad to be a part of it. And I think the council, anytime Councilman Otan talked about it, was all on board. I assume there was no papers in any of the dry boxes when they came up. for registrations and all the numbers off the side of the boats. Was there any way we can figure out who these boats belong to, and
So-
they didn't have any kind of responsibility?
Yeah, so, yes and no. Some of them, obviously, there was no identification. Some of them, we were able to get the owners. You know, it's really tricky, unfortunately, down here, and it's not just boats, but we have, I don't know if it's our culture or what, but when people buy things or they want to transfer things or give, a lot of times they never go through the process of changing the ownership, changing the title and the paperwork. So, some owners, we were able to identify the last owner, but not necessarily able to contact them. So we reached out to Chet, I see him back there. They do a lot of this from LaRose down to the port. And we're gonna take steps to, to mirror what they do is, to get legal judgments against these folks so that if there's ever money, I mean, we can go after these people for sure. There's no doubt that we have the legal authority to go after these individual owners for the cost that it was to remove the vessel. Whether we get anything is a whole nother conversation. So, but we're definitely working on the proper procedures to put those judgments in place so that if there's ever some kind of windfall of money or they come into money, that we can be reimbursed for that. Well, we meaning us and Lafourche Parish government.
Mr. Perilou.
Yeah, Ben, thank you for the presentation. And Ryan, thank you for all your efforts as well. In this project, did you notice any like environmental impacts these sunken vessels may have had on the bayou?
So one of the boats actually had about 1,200 gallons of diesel in one.
Still on board?
Still on board, yeah.
Thankfully, it wasn't
Exactly.
released,
So that
right?
could have been a major issue, yeah. North of the southernmost water plant in Lockport, so.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the biggest concern, and unfortunately, in a lot of these cases, it's underwater, you can't see it, you don't really know until you start lifting it, and that was our concern from the very beginning, was this is a project nobody argues needed to be done, and is a good project for the bayou, the parish, the people who use the bayou, the aesthetics of the bayou, but there's that environmental concern that who's gonna be left holding the bag when you lift this thing up? And you just start discharging all kinds of
Contaminate
diesel.
the water
Exactly.
supply, right, absolutely.
So we worked with the Coast Guard, so when we identified the 12 vessels, there's a process that you gotta go through, to find out who the owners are, working with Wildlife and Fisheries, and depending on the type of vessel, it's Wildlife and Fisheries you go through. If it's a different type, you gotta go through the Coast Guard. So once you notify all the owners, the Coast Guard will come in and do as much due diligence per vessel. They have money for that. Okay, they'll come in and they actually hired they hired ES&H to come in and remove as much of the contaminants as they can, but they won't board vessels that are unsafe to board. So we still have to be cognizant of that. But yes, certainly one of the vessels had over 1,200 gallons of diesel that a boat could have ran aground, hit it, and could have all discharged into the bayou.
Thank you for taking care to make sure that didn't happen.
Mr. Melvin.
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Ben, and everyone involved. I know the first time I heard about this, even though I grew up on the bayou for 50 years, looking at these vessels, some of them, I don't know how many y'all, you say you got 12 of them?
Correct.
How many are left, would you guesstimate further down, or just quickly?
I don't know, 15?
Okay, and the first time I heard about this actual project getting off the ground was when the last council, Chairman Otan, so I'd like to really thank Chairman Otan, because it was really put in the budget. It was, his brainchild from our end that I first heard about it, but again, a wonderful job, everybody, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lorraine.
Yes, Ben, you're talking about from Donaldsonville all the way to the Gulf of Mexico is Bayou Lafourche, right?
That's correct.
And my question was, but Bo asked you, they took the biggest boats out, but you still probably have some smaller boats.
Correct.
So y'all gonna address that?
Yeah, so what we did was we identified the targets that we don't have the abilities to remove in-house.
But like from the intercoastal south, what you need to do is go learn some lessons from the Greater Lafourche Port Commission, and they'll tell you exactly how to do it, because they don't fool around. Them boats sink, and they're gonna get them up, and the owner's gonna pay for it. They take care of their own. So just go over there and see what they got, ordinances or whatever they have, and take my advice. They'll help you. Because you don't see that down the bayou. They ain't gonna let it happen. And it's all about funding, and we contributed 200,000 from the BP funds, which was a good investment.
Right.
And I think we also gave another 50. And now we gotta pay solid waste or whoever to clean where Bollinger's at. I mean, we gotta go clean that mess.
Correct.
We can't just leave their boats there. And I thank you for doing that. I was all for it. It's better environment, a lot cleaner. But go learn your lessons with the Port Commission.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Every
you,
day I
Mr.
strive to be like Jeff. Mr. Lorraine.
Thank you, Mr. Lorraine. So I'll leave the final comments, and yeah, so just Daniel, just as an FY, Ben did engage both Chet's group as well as Terrebonne Parish and looked at what they did, ordinances. So one of the problems that we have as a council, and some of you councilmen will see this, we always have jurisdictional issues. So Mr. Lorraine made a very good comment. South Atlantic Coastal, they've been having a program for a long time. Well, that Joan of Arc, that originated in their jurisdiction. So when they got noticed, they had actually caught fire, and they pulled the engine and all that. Well, you know what? When they got noticed there was going to be a problem, they lifted it and they floated it out of their jurisdiction into kind of a no man's land where it wasn't, and then it sat there. And unfortunately, it was asked about, we're going to try to go back after these people. Well, this individual ended up passing away. Right. So the vessel didn't belong to anybody. So there's a whole lot of issues, but from an environmental standpoint, from a safety standpoint, from a pest standpoint, and even so much as we had on one of these vessels as an individual that OD'd and passed away. We had to go in there and pull him off. And we also have that where some people just passing decide they're going to light it on fire. So we have that hazard of fire. So anyway, just a mess all the way around. I will say, though, that was in March of 2014. That was part of the bayou cleanup. The little guy that was in the front of that boat full of trash was John Altamont. When they hit, what happened is they went over one side of that tugboat back because it was completely submerged. When the keel hit that side, it went down, and then when it hit the other side, John Altamont was ejected into the water. Luckily, he was beyond the rib, so he didn't hit anything in the water. And the little guy, Quentin Gongeron, who was driving, actually tore the steering wheel and the throttle and broke all it up. So they ended up putting 2 holes in this boat, about $3,000 in damage. And that was just them volunteering in the bayou cleanup. Right. So, yeah, we were pretty upset about that. So what I did is I called Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. Here we go, jurisdictional issues. This seems to be y'all jurisdiction. They came out and they annotated it as an underwater obstruction. So it's on their data system as an underwater obstruction. That's where it ends. They have no funding source to remove vessels, so it's back to who takes care of them. So that's why it's been such a long process to get this done. But I just want to pass, I am grateful to Ben Bordelon at Bollinger's, to Ben Marlborough with the Bayou Lafourche Freshwater District, to Jimmy Cantrell's administration, to this council who supported it, because I can tell you, without all these entities, this would have never happened. Right. And you can see there was a local effort. You saw the fire department's boat pushing that big boat. We got backhoes. We put it on that hopper. So we tried to do as much as we could, but we were just limited. And so, you know, I'm hopeful that now we're on top of the game and we'll be able to stay ahead of this issue. And I can tell you, it's one of those feel-good things that this Lafourche Parish government should be proud of. Daniel.
I don't know if you know this. There was 2 John of Arc boats. Ours is in the Leeville thing. I don't know who that one was for. It wasn't from down the bayou.
Yeah, this one was cut up. Yeah, this was cut off Louisiana.
Yeah, but you could put LaRose, you could put New Orleans, you could put whatever you want on the back of the boat.
Understood. So one of the arguments I did say, Mr. Daniel, is because I got a lot of calls and pushback. Why is government paying for this? So apparently people don't watch these agendas. We approve derelict structures all the time. And what I was told 2 years ago is that we've never collected, not even once. All these liens we put on properties, well, I don't know if y'all saw, but we got in our packets, we finally might be collecting some money on a lien. So we approved getting rid of derelict structures. And the file right now, I think, is this thick of stuff we got to knock down. And it'll probably be 10 years before, as people are submitting right now, before we even get to them, because it's such a monumental task. But follow-up, last comment.
The problem with the liens is that as long as they don't sell it, it stays there. So you keep it in the family. They know how to milk the system.
Yep. And what's nice about that is the property on boats, if they pass away, there's nothing to go after. But very good. Once again, I'm grateful, Ben. Thank you for everything y'all did with this project, and I'm so glad this body's cleaned up.
It certainly couldn't have happened without you guys, for sure. It was exciting. Mr. Lorraine, listen, I don't ever want to have to do that again, I promise. I didn't want to, it wasn't enjoyable. But I think, like Armand said, it had to be done. We drew a line in the sand. I think there was a lot of people in the community, obviously, who supported what we're doing, but I think everybody took notice. And I don't think you'll see people moving their vessels into the lower portion of Bayou Lafourche out of Cheltenham's jurisdiction to sink them and leave them derelict anymore. So it's really unfortunate that we had to pay for it. But I think it was a project that needed to be done. As he said, it was certainly a navigation hazard. Unfortunately, we couldn't get some of our federal partners, who I truly feel are responsible for removing these, to step up to the plate. But that's just the way it is. So.
Yeah, we got this program on radar now, so that's the best thing about it. And one group I didn't thank, and that's, I know Roy Gross here, but the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office, specifically Dean Savoy, because Dean Savoy chased some of these boats down and some of these people down to try to get, so I do want to thank them as well.
They kept us safe the entire time. We were hoping we didn't need them, but then we needed them every step of the way, for sure.
But once again, thanks, Ben.
Thank y'all.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate it. Okay, I entertain a motion to return to a regular agenda. I got a motion by Mr. Melvin, second by Mr. Jones. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Brings us to item G, public hearing and ordinances for ratification. I got a motion by Councilman Pearl, second by Mr. Wendell, to open public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 4, ordinance establishing no parking on the shoulder on the south side of West 163rd Street from Highway 3235 to Avenue B, Galliano, Louisiana, Ward 10, District 9, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, installing the necessary no parking signs and providing penalties for the violations thereof. A motion by Councilman Lorraine. Can I get a second? A second by Councilman Perilou. Would anyone from the public like to discuss this? One time, two times, three times. Anyone from the council? There being none, we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Number 5, ordinance to dededicate a drainage servitude between Lafourche Parish and Clarence J. Hebert located in the Bayou Blue area in section 24T-16-S R-17-E, recorded with the clerk of court under entry number 1024146, Lafourche Parish, Louisiana, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement. Moved by Councilman Wendell for the administration, second by Councilman Perilou. Would anyone from the public like to comment on this? One time. Two times. Anyone from the public? Three times. Anyone from the council? Mr. Wendell.
Yes, these next two ordinances originate in Bayou Blue. 2 meetings ago, we had the homeowners association from the Woodland Heights come, and they had questions about these properties. I see Mr. DeHart and Mr. Rattler in the audience. I was able to meet with them the day after that meeting, get all the questions answered, report back to the neighborhood, had a neighborhood meeting, and everybody's a little bit at ease now, I guess you'd say, because they finally found out what was going on and what was going to happen. So this will actually help the neighborhood as well as the property owners, these next two servitudes. So I just wanted to let everybody know that that was semi-handled and that we're moving forward with that in that area.
Good work. Anyone from the council would like to discuss any further? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 6, ordinance approving the attached servitude agreement between Justin Michael DeHart, Dana LeConte DeHart, and the Lafourche Parish Council, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement. Moved by Councilman Wendell for the administration, second by Councilman Perilou. Would anyone from the public like to comment on this? One time, two times, last time for the public. Anyone from the council would like to discuss? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Got a motion by Councilman Perilou, second by Councilman Grow to close public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Councilman Melvin, can you please repose ordinances? And I'll remind you on item 14 and 15, I've been advised it will get pulled.
Yes, sir. H, proposed ordinances number 7. Proposed ordinance to install a caution children at play sign on 4 Point Drive, Racine, Louisiana, Ward 3, District 4, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, installing the necessary caution children at play sign to be placed on 4 Point Drive just before the second cross street, which is Frost Drive. And would somebody move on that for me, please?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Move on, Mr. Otam. Number 8, proposed ordinance to replace the faded 20 miles an hour speed limit sign and with a new sign on Holiday Drive between Country Club Boulevard and Fairfield Drive in Thibodaux, Louisiana, Ward 2, District 4, Parish, Lafourche, Louisiana, State of Louisiana, providing for the placement of a 20 miles per hour speed limit sign and providing penalties for violation thereof. Would somebody please move on that one? Thank you. Appreciate it, Mr. Wendell. Number 9, proposed ordinance rescinding ordinance number 6036 as it pertains to a representative from the Department of Public Works to present a monthly report by Mr. Jones. Number 10, a proposed ordinance to rescinding ordinance number 6037 as it pertains to a representative from the Finance Department to present a quarterly report, moved by Mr. Jones. Number 11, proposed ordinance establishing a three-way stop at the intersection of Cascade Drive and Peachtree Drive in Sugar Ridge Subdivision, Thibodaux, Louisiana, Ward 6, District 2, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, installing the necessary three-way stop signs and providing penalties for violation thereof, moved by Mr. Adams. Number 12, proposed ordinance establishing a three-way stop at the intersection of Cascade Drive, Sugar Ridge, in Sugar Ridge Subdivision, Thibodaux, Louisiana, Ward 6, District 2, Parish of Lafourche, State of Louisiana, installing the necessary three-way stop signs and providing penalties for the violation thereof, by move of Mr. Adams. Number 13, proposed ordinance providing for a 2020 supplemental appropriation 20-001 within the 2020 operations and maintenance budget and capital budget to establish a budget for the Lockport Entryway Modification Project 20013 and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said transaction as provided by Article 6 of the Lafourche Parish Home Rule Charter. Move on Mr. Lorraine for the administration. And numbers, Mr. Chairman, number 14 and 15 will be pulled, and I've sponsored those, so they'll be pulled.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Melvin. And item 14, 15 just is going to be rewritten. They'll be back on an agenda a little further down the road. Brings us to item I, resolutions. I remind the audience, if anyone wants to speak on these, please bring a note or something real quick to the council clerk, because we don't normally recognize the audience other than the one community action one I'm aware of. Okay, item I, resolutions. Number 16, resolution reappointing one member on the Fire Protection District Number 2 Board, Mr. Perilou for the administration. Who you got, Mr. Perilou?
Mr. Eric Benoit.
Got Mr. Eric Benoit. Can I get a second? Got a second by Councilwoman Boudreaux. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 17, resolution reappointing one member on the Lafourche Parish Children and Youth Planning Board, Mr. Perilou for the administration.
Earl Davis.
Mr. Earl Davis. Got a second by Councilwoman Boudreaux. Anyone from the council like to discuss? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 18, resolution ratifying nominations by the parish president for the South Lafourche Levy District and requesting the governor of the state of Louisiana to appoint one member. So motion by Councilman Lorraine for that administration. Mr. Lorraine.
I'd like to go back with Mr. Roland Curall. He's on the Levy District now. He never missed a meeting, and I attend those meetings, so the man deserves to be back on there.
Got Mr. Roland Curall. We got a second by Mr. Perilou. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 19, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between the Greater Lafourche Port Commission and the Lafourche Parish Government for the Fouchon Beach Restoration and Resiliency Project, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Lorraine for the administration, second by Councilman Perilou. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 20, resolution approving an agreement with Casualty Actuarial Consultants Incorporated for actuarial services and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration. Got a second by Mr. Melvin. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. How do you say it?
Actuarial.
That's not what I said. Actuarial. All right. From a little further south than y'all. All right. Item 21, resolution approving amendment number 1 to the agreement between Everbridge Incorporated and Lafourche Parish Government for a high-speed notification system and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Can someone move for me on that? Mr. Adams will sponsor for the administration, second by Councilman Melvin. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 22, resolution appointing Mark Atzenhofer and Jerry Jones as representatives to the South Central Planning and Development Commission Board and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Adams for the administration, second by Councilman Melvin. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 23, resolution appointing one member to the Fire Protection District Number 6 Board. Mr. Adams for the administration. Who do you have, Mr. Adams?
Jared Gotro.
Jared Gautreau?
Yeah.
Got a second by Councilman Jones. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Your lights lit, Mr. Melvin. Motion passes 9-0. Item 24, resolution ratifying nominations by the parish president for the North Lafourche Conservation Levy and Drainage District and requesting the governor of the state of Louisiana to appoint one member. Mr. Melvin for the administration. Who you got, Mr. Melvin?
That's for the administration. I don't have anything on here.
Mr. Chairman, we have to submit 3 names, and the governor picks the one. So he doesn't actually have to nominate anybody. We just have to submit the 3 names.
Copy that. All right, so we got a motion by Mr. Melvin, we got a second by Mr. Jones. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 25, resolution appointing one member on the Fire Protection District Number 4 Board. Now, Mr. Melvin for the administration. Who you got?
Mr. Richard Bourgeois.
Mr. Richard Bourgeois, got a second by Councilman Jones. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 26, resolution reappointing one commissioner to represent the Lockport Police Department to Lafourche Parish Children and Youth Planning Board. Mr. Grove for the administration.
It's for you, Orman.
Chief David Harrelson, Jr.
Chief David Harrelson, Jr., got a second by Councilman Perilou. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 27, resolution reappointing one commissioner to represent the faith-based community on the Lafourche Parish Children and Youth Planning Board. Mr. Grove for the administration, who you got?
Ron Sampier.
Mr. Ron Sape, can I get a second? A second by Mr. Perilou. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 28, resolution amending resolution number 19-350, which stated that all checks issued by Lafourche Parish government shall be signed by any 2 of the following 3 individuals. Elected Parish President Archie Chasson III. We are scratching out Executive Assistant 3rd Kelly Toops. We're adding Parish Administrator Mitch Ogeron, and we are scratching out Controller Carol F. Hemel III and adding Finance Director Renita Jackson. And that said individuals are authorized to sign on all accounts dealing with the transfer of funds and authorizing the Parish President to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Councilman Perilou. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 29, resolution approving a cooperative endeavor agreement between the City of Thibodaux and Lafourche Parish government for funding the recreation program in the city limits and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Grove for the administration, second by Councilman Wendell. I'm sorry, moved by Councilman, second by Councilman Jones. Recognize Mr. Jones. Any discussion? Mr. President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to let you guys know, several years ago when this agreement failed to exist, the city of Thibodaux placed a kind of a surcharge on the parish residents who use the city of Thibodaux rec programs. Because we're bringing this back and hopefully going to pass it tonight, I do have the cooperation of Mayor Eshday to remove those surcharges. So everybody who uses the programs from Jack Bay or outside the city limits of Thibodaux should see the charges they pay to play rec ball and other issues actually go down. So I appreciate him for that.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Lorraine.
Yes, so what are we talking about? 95% of the revenue goes back to the city. How much?
Mr. President, you can answer that.
So historically, it's been about 107,000, which was about 60%. So we're figuring somewhere between about 120 and 122,
Okay.
depending on the tax year.
10 years ago, I voted to do that. We got the money from the road royalty. You don't have that money no more. We keep tapping into the recreation, keep tapping into the, something's gonna happen after a while. I'd love to have 95% of what we pay back. They wouldn't have much left after that. I understand they're charging a service charge and all this other stuff, but I mean, come on, man. Out of the city, I think Mr. Jones has his park which is out of the city. We bought all the property. Nothing's on it. No lights, no nothing. And you're gonna give the city back all that money? If we, look, I supported it, and this is for 10 years, boys. This is not for 1 year. This is for 10 years. Things might change, hopefully, but you're looking at 10 years giving them 95% of what they collect? Some of you guys better wake up. Not that I don't want to help them. I helped them 10 years ago by giving them the road royalty. But it's not there no more. It's not even close. So you kind of caught between a rock and a heartbeat, I guess. I mean, you don't want to go against them charging, but what about everybody else in the parish? I guarantee you, Recreation District 3, you give me 95% of what we generate, they ain't got much left to run this parish. I promise you that. So you're going to do it for 10 years? Why don't you do it for 1 year or 2 years? Why don't you make an amendment? Let's be fair. If things pick up, then you add. I could support it for 1 or 2 years, but not for 10. I just think if the economy gets back again, you get the royalty, fine. We did it before. But what you got to understand, the funds are not there like they used to be, gentlemen. Everybody wants. But it's going to come to an end soon, unless the economy turns around. So if you shorten it up, I'll support it for 1 or 2 years. But I'm only 1 vote, so that's it.
Okay, any further discussion? There being none, we'll move it to vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes with 8 yeas, 1 nay, that 1 nay being Councilman Lorraine. Moving to item 30, resolution approving Lafourche Parish government to advertise for bids for Phase 1 of the Alley Door Drainage Improvement Project and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Parallel for the administration, second by Councilman Wendell. Any discussion? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 31, resolution approving the parish president's appointment of Reggie Bagala for the position of Director of Community Services for Lafourche Parish Government and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Parallel for the administration. And I got a second. I got a second by Councilman Grow. Any discussion? Mr. President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I said this in the beginning when we nominated the rest of the department heads, and I'll say it again for Mr. Bagala. We've tried to assemble the greatest team we could to help move our parish forward, and Reggie's going to be a huge addition to this. He brings a humongous skill set, which most of you know, having worked with him for the last 3 years as the internal auditor, and my experience working with him in the previous administration before that. So I'd appreciate the support.
Absolutely, and we did copies that he was cleared from dual office holding as well as ethics, so we're good to go. Mr. Lorraine.
Yeah, I just want to say that I got the 2 opinions, one from the Attorney General and one from the ethics. I wished you to put that in the packet. And I also want to say I can't understand why we didn't go to the DA's office. Usually you start off at the DA and then you work your way up. So we just bypassed the DA, and that they shouldn't have done that. But that's what was done. Now, as far as, every time there's an opinion come up here, you got to go to the DA. You check the records. But we didn't go to the DA here. Why? I don't know. I have no clue.
Yeah, our district attorney.
Wait, let me finish.
Go ahead.
And community service includes Head Start, community action, animal shelter, senior citizens, and recreation. So this guy is a representative. You get money from the state and the federal government for Head Start. You get money from the state and federal government for community action. How can you be doing both? How can you be a representative and then fool with all this over here? And then you want to pay them $38.46 an hour, part-time? You know what that means to all you dedicated employees in this parish? a good slap in the face. Because you got some dedicated employees here that's been here as long as me and longer, and real long, and do their work. How you think they feel? But I'm not gonna get excited. I'm just not gonna vote for it because I just don't think it's right. And I wish next time this happens, Archie, put it in the packet. Don't come give it to me right before a meeting. And I was very disappointed that y'all didn't go to the DA.
Thank you, Ms. Lorraine. I will comment that on issues related to ethics as well as dual office holding, those are going to be forwarded to the Ethics Board and to the Attorney General's office. Our district attorney does not make opinions on either one of those issues. I've only been in office 4 years, but I've already had to be confronted with it. So, Mr. Melvin.
I'm sorry, you just stole my thunder. I had to call regarding another issue, and I wrote to the AG because when I talked to the DA, I was referred to the AG, and I did call ethics in the mix, and they said AG. So I got my packet from the AG, filled it out, sent it back, and I'm just looking at a few things myself, but the point is, it's the AG. Now, real quick, do you think he's incapable of doing the job?
Mr. Daniel?
Do you think Mr. Bogla is incapable of doing the job? Because I think he'd do an exemplary job.
I just think it's a dual office. I mean, he's a state rep, he's trying to get you money, but yet he's working for the parish.
Right, well, I appreciate what you're thinking, but the AG had otherwise. Thank you.
But then you did say a while ago, before you went to the Attorney General, you went to the DA, and they told you to go over there. Well, why didn't we go there?
Because they told me they have the authority,
Okay, hold
not
on.
them.
Yeah, okay, let's move on. Mr. Perilou.
I just want to say, go on the record, I 100% wholeheartedly support this nomination. I think you're building a great team, Mr. Parish President, and I will support Mr. Bogala wholeheartedly.
Very good. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes by a vote of 8 yeas, 1 nay, that nay being Mr. Daniel Lorraine. Item 32, resolution approving a contract between Lafourche Parish Government and Angelette Picciola LLC for engineering services for the project titled West 107th Street Drainage Improvements, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said contract and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Lorraine for the administration. Can I get a second? Can I get a second? Yeah, second by Mr. Adams. Okay, discussion. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So at the request of Councilman Lorraine, we added this item back to the agenda because I know it was kind of shot down during the previous administration. Myself and the parish administrator rode the area with Mr. Lorraine, and there are some drainage concerns with the way the structures are up against the ditch. So I think what we're going to do with Neil is we're going to let him start the engineering services on the project. I know Mr. Lorraine has some ideas about culverting the ditch. Whether we culvert or we do an open ditch and just relocate the ditch to give it away from some of these structures, I think we're gonna look at cost as well. It's not just gonna be a hopefully, depending on what the engineers say, we'll fund the project accordingly. But I think it is somewhat of a need for the area. So we'll let the engineer to kind of drive that train from the beginning to see how far we go with it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Any further discussion? And
I got something.
Mr. Dillon, you have any comments on this? Are you aware of the project? Haven't been brought into it yet?
Yes, sir. Mr. Lorraine and I rolled the site and looked at it, and I agree with what Mr. Jesson said.
Very good. Thank you, Dillon. Mr. Grew.
When it came up before, it was not for engineering, though. It was to put a culvert. Is that correct? Or was it?
Mr. Lorraine may have.
Was it the same way?
The West 107th Street.
Let me just
Go ahead,
say
Mr. Lorraine.
this. In 1/7/15, I turned this in to the parish administration. It wasn't this administration, it wasn't the other administration. And it was a wish list, like y'all turn in now for next year or whatever. And it didn't hit the budget till 2018. It's in the 2018 budget. It's in the 2019. It's in the 2020. It's road sales tax too. It's not parish-wide money. And I allocated $250,000 for the project. The same thing we're trying to do right here, we did on West 111. You can go check. I got some pictures right here. I'll show you. On this project, I got a house that's about 20 feet, 15 feet from the ditch. And they got some trailers. And the guy that usually keeps this up, he's getting old. And he says he's just tired of cleaning it, tired of the parish never goes and cut the grass like they should. And if you fix it the way it needs to be fixed, it's not any different than any canal, any drainage issue in the parish. It's not any different. It's case by case. We did it 4 blocks south. We fixed it. Parish never went back and cut the grass. They cut it themselves. And it's a safety issue. They got a few kids right here. And like I said, I got it all in black and white. It wasn't voted on with the last administration. I don't know why. But if you look at some of the minutes of some of the quotes that were said, it wasn't very good. But it's all right here. And I brought Mr. Chasson, who has experience with DPW. I brought Mr. Dillon and Mr. Mitch, and they agree. It drains all of West 107. It cuts across Sanders's property. Sanders's property, there's coverts and it's buried. Then it falls into this big ditch to 32, 35. And that's what we want to do, take care of that. So just let the engineer look at it and we'll go from there. I mean, I don't have no cement ditches in my district.
Mr. Grove?
Is it difficult to like maintain? Is there a reason why it was neglected? Is it
It's
hard to
where,
get
it's
to?
where it's at, Mike. It's really where it's at.
Tough location. Mr. Perilou?
If my memory serves me correct, wasn't this to put landscape culverts over that ditch?
No, you could call it landscape, you call it what you want. It's not any different than in your district that you put your culverts. And then Jerry Jones put culverts on the side of the road that was caving in.
No, but my question is this, Mr. Daniel. I'm just trying to figure this out because I think the last council voted it down because you wanted to put at parish expense landscape culverts on private property.
No.
And I think that's what the exception was the last time around.
No, you're 100% wrong, sir.
Okay,
You voted it
enlighten me. Remind me of what the project scope is.
It's all black and white. Look, you want to see it?
Yes, I do.
Well, go ahead.
So this is parish property you want to
Yes,
culvert?
Yes.
So it's not private property?
No, that's not private property, Corey. I wouldn't do that.
I wouldn't do it either. That's why I'm asking.
We have all our right-of-ways and the parish owns the ditch.
But, so you saying it's for safety reasons to put culverts over a ditch
they
that's
got some-
behind the row of
they got some
houses,
kid-
nowhere near the road or the sidewalk?
Exactly, right behind their house, 10, 15 feet from their house.
It don't
in the
make
ditch.
sense.
You know, might not make sense to you, but it makes sense. Listen, the people of District 9 deserve to be treated like everybody else. This is not a parish-wide tax. This is a district tax. I brought it up in 2015. It made the budget in 18, 19, and 20. What more can I tell you?
It looks like you want to cover a ditch that's in the back row of a house behind some fields that it's not even traversed.
No, maybe if you'd go see it with your own eyes, then you'd be able to tell. That's the best I could do. I mean, I can't, vote the way y'all want, but I'm asking you to support it. It's been since 2015.
I'll wait a couple more minutes so that everyone else can see the pictures. Go ahead, Mr. Grove.
So this is this is the pictures of the place, or this is the old job?
No, shoot.
This culvert right here.
That's the job we did 4 blocks south. This and this right here. This is along, you see these houses? They would have fell right in the ditch. That's the job we did. The parish don't ever go back there no more. We finished. And this is what you got on the north side. This is what you had here, but it's all covered, right? You see?
Mr. Perilou, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to ask the parish president, is it common practice for the parish to invest money in private property to landscape culvert ditches that are not traversed like by vehicles or pedestrians?
Not necessarily. I know that we previously, every administration has put culverts in ditches to save structures, and I think in some cases that's what this is. But again, I go back to, this is a contract with the engineer to actually evaluate the project. If we get down the road and Neil and Larry say, we can't do it, we shouldn't do it, maybe it's better that we reshape the ditch and relocate it over a little bit to get it away from the structures. I'm not married to culverts. I'm not.
Because, yeah, if he's calling it safety, I mean, every ditch in the world is a safety hazard.
Yeah.
We can't afford to go culvert every ditch in the world.
No. And like I said,
or in the parish.
No. And this is, if, again, we let Neil and Mr. Lowry look at the project, if we get to a point where it's not feasible, cost prohibitive, it becomes a non-safety issue, it becomes more of a landscaping issue, then I think we back off.
Sounds like to me.
Mr. Wendell.
So this is for engineering, not for the actual work?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Pearl is correct. We shot it down before because it was going to all be culverted without being looked at. So we shot it down, just knowing there was probably going to be a lot of, just seemed to be private work. But I would agree with, and I'm thankful that the president is stating that this is simply going to be a study. So I can tell you from my perspective, I'm on board with his word of saying that it's a study. Any further discussion? Ms. Lorraine, you want one last comment? You good? Okay, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 33, resolution adopting a language access plan for limited English proficiency persons for all Office of Community Development, OCD projects, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Councilman Wendell. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 34, resolution appointing one member on the Lafourche Parish Children and Youth Planning Board representing the Lafourche Parish Sheriff's Office. Mr. Wendell for the administration. Who you got?
Due to the retirement of Lieutenant Sean Scott, the nomination to represent the Sheriff's Office would be Sergeant Jennifer Knight.
Sergeant Jennifer Knight. I got a second by Councilman Perilou. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 35, resolution approving amendment number 1 to the agreement between the Louisiana Housing Corporation and the Lafourche Parish Council Office of Community Action for the Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, LAHEAP, grant period 10/1 of 2019 to 9/30 of 2021, fiscal year 2020, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Councilman Adams. And discussion. Mr. Lorraine.
They had a community action meeting last night. I didn't get to make it, but that was all approved, Jerry?
Mr. Jones?
Yes, everything was approved.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It went to the advisory board.
Very good. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 36, resolution approving a lease agreement between the Warren J. Hurain Jr. Municipal Auditorium and Lafourche Parish Government Office of Community Action for quarterly commodity distribution in 2020, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said agreement and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Councilman Adams. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 37, resolution approving the recommendation from the Lafourche Parish Community Action Advisory Board to appoint Mr. Jones. I got a blank right here.
To appoint Ms. Dion Gazzery.
Ms. Dion Gazzery
Yes.
for the position of Community Action Executive Director, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any and all relevant documents. This is by Mr. Jones for the administration. Mr. Jones, can you spell, do you have that spelling, Mr. Rowley?
Yes, sir, I got it.
Okay. So I have that motion. I got a second by Mr. Adams. Now I'll open up for discussion. Mr. Perilou.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Mr. Jones, was this approved by the advisory board as well?
Yes, sir.
Last night? Okay, thanks.
Now I know if anyone wants to speak, you can come, Mr. Sylvester, you can come up and speak. Just remember to state your name and address for the record. And you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, sir. My name is Sylvester Spears.
Got it.
Sylvester Spears. I live in 428 Danton Street in Racine, Louisiana. I was with the advisory board last night when they voted on Ms. Dion to be executive director. I was here a few months ago, and I fought for community action to stay in the parish. And St. Mary wanted to take it. And I fought real hard to keep it here, and you all were very, very understanding about that. Now, to say all of that, Ms. Stacy Savoy has been interim for a number of years, I think 2 years now. I came back and got on the advisory board. Ms. Stacy has been doing a wonderful job. Plus, she's been taking care of 2 entities, CACFP as well as executive director. Now, I work for the school board. I get off a little late. I went into the meeting, and it looked like there was a meeting before a meeting for me. I don't know. I'm just saying, Miss Dion, I know her very, very well. She's been with the Head Start. She's been with Head Start a number of years, does an excellent job with Head Start. But I feel as though this is a little bit beyond her. Why take somebody who's been doing an excellent job for 2 years, plus taking care of 2 entities? I see you looking at me, Daniel. I know you very well. We're friends, remember that now. She's been doing a wonderful job. In the assessment from the state, I mean, she improved all the way to 12%. That hasn't been done in a long time since Denise Hughes has been here. Now, I like Dion, but I don't think she's ready for this job. She's got a wonderful staff behind her, Stacy. They're ready to go. They're angry. I mean, they got some fire in them again. Before, I'm not even going to speak on the person before. You all know her, some of you all. It wasn't like that. But why go backward? I know it's Black History Month, but we don't want to go back. Let's go forward. And then with God in our lives and some faith, we can do that. I ask that you will reconsider this, please. My time?
Discussion? Mr. Jones?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. The advisory board met, the personnel committee met before,
Yes,
which is legal.
Yes, sir.
Nothing was did underhanded.
Yes,
Had very good applicants.
Yes, sir.
The board, the personnel committee recommended to the board voted for Ms. Dion.
I did not
Dion-
vote for her plus some other people as well, just put it on record.
I got the floor. I have the floor.
Go ahead. Yeah, hold on, let me
Yes,
finish,
sir.
Mr. Spears.
And you want to move the parish forward. That's
Yes.
exactly what this parish is doing. We just stated that Mr. Chancellor is building a team to move the parish forward. The last 4 years have been chaos. 2020, I don't even see it. We're moving forward. My recommendation, along with the advisory board, is Ms. Gazzery.
May I?
Yes, Mr. Spears, go ahead.
Okay, you did have a person that was an executive director from Assumption Parish. And you go with somebody from Head Start that has no experience at all?
Mr. Spears,
Yes, sir.
Ms. Gazzery worked in community action before, and she did an excellent interview. And that's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna talk about the other applicants
I understand.
from Assumption or anywhere else.
I understand.
The advisory board chose Ms. Gazzery. And the recommendation is to this council.
Mr. Wendell, you have the floor.
Can you share how many applicants they had, Mr. Jones, for the position?
6.
Thank you.
Mr. Grove?
I was just going to ask, personally, I think Stacy's done as well as she could. I have no beef with Stacy. I know she had her hands tied in a lot of ways. We have to support the board, and that was part of her hiccup, getting the board together, and now they have a board, and they met. It's tough for us. These people are serving for nothing, and we have to trust their opinion. I wasn't at that meeting last night. I don't know if it was unanimous, if it was a tight vote, but, I'd have to strongly disagree to not support that. And I would hope, as a servant, being on that board, you can respect that. I mean, if you put your candidate up, you'd want us to support that person as well, But having not been there, we have a council liaison. We have to trust, what they bring forward, unless we have strong evidence as to not support the person. And you spoke highly of her, that she's a good person at Head Start, so why wouldn't she be good at this one? Everybody deserves a chance, And I want to thank Stacy for the toxic environment that you were in, and I appreciate you coming up here and fighting hard, for your own self and for what you were trying to do, but there's stuff in place about the boards and posting and having meetings that it didn't work, it just didn't work as it's supposed to, but I commend you for taking it on your shoulders with a lot of people against you, so I think it's very admirable and need to be mentioned.
Mr. Lorraine?
Yeah, Spears,
Yes, sir.
you used to work at Community Action, right? Years ago?
Many years ago, yes.
Weatherization?
Yes, sir.
What happened to weatherization?
It was lost.
We lost it. Who took it? Morgan City.
Yes, sir.
Okay, when you were there.
No, I wasn't here.
Well,
wasn't here.
well, they took it.
I'm the one who-
Wait, they took it.
All right, I don't want to get off subject.
There was an attempt, and I was part of it, to consider letting Miss, whatever that lady's name is, Franklin, run the whole show, but unfortunately, we couldn't do it, okay? There was a lot of problems with community action. It's beginning to straighten up. It's straightening up. They voted 8-5 last night, including the parish president. So, hey, majority rules.
Go ahead, Mr. Spears.
In my defense,
In the mic.
Yeah, then we
I
can
can
pick you up
talk
on for the
loud.
record.
Believe you me, I can talk loud. In my defense, Mr. Daniel, you know good and well that I wasn't here when they took it. I'm the one that came and assessed you all and told the state that it was in Rutgers. That's why they took it. I left and went to the state, came back and assessed you all, and they took it.
I was just trying to make an example because you
I
said we were
understand,
trying to give it to Franklin.
I understand that.
And you weatherization was lost.
We're not
Whether
talking
it was
about
you or
weatherization.
not, it was
We're talking-
lost.
Hold on, yeah, right now we're getting
yes,
off the
we're not
topic.
talking
Ms.
about
Lorraine brought up something way off
weatherization.
topic, and I apologize for that, Mr. Spears.
Thank you.
I apologize on behalf of the council.
Thank you,
We'll keep it specific to the director.
Correct,
And I think we hear you loud and clear. It was a close vote, and I will agree with Mr. Jones. It was chaos the last couple of years, and Stacy did do a great job. And it was chaos from the council, from the administration, from the state, from the board. And the unfortunate part is, though, is we're going to follow the democratic process. At least,
understand.
I have to follow the democratic
I
process.
understand that.
No offense, because I certainly respect you, what you have to say. But any last words, Mr. Spears?
I'm only saying that just reconsider, think about it. It's not up to the board to put this person in position, is it? Or it's just for
Only
administration?
recommendation, yes, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Spears. Do we have any further discussion? Mr. President?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know I got a call from the chairman this afternoon. I don't want to talk about the people or the politics behind this, but the process. So when Mr. Jones first passed the resolution asking us to advertise for the director position, I made it very clear to Mr. Jones that this administration was going to interject itself into this, because I didn't want it to become a sham or anybody have any preconceived notions that it was geared toward one particular person. So the way the format worked out yesterday was that our HR director, Ms. Savanya Townsend, sat in on the interviews, conducted the beginning part of it, and came up with a standardized set of questions. We touched on their background, their team working and relationship building skills, their vision for the agency, and then the qualities they thought that we would get in them versus any one of the other candidates. They all got the same questions. They all had the same amount of time. Each interview ran anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes. So it was a completely transparent and clear process from an interview standpoint.
Thank you, Mr. President. Any further discussion? I want to thank Mr. Spears and Ms. Hill for commenting in support of Ms. Stacy. Mr. Wendell?
Mr. Chasson, all 6 applicants were vetted equally. Same questions, same.
So there was one applicant that was pulled. He could not make it and involuntarily pulled his application, but everyone was vetted the same. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that said, we'll move this to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 38, resolution approving amendment number 1 to the sub-award grant agreement between Louisiana Workforce Commission, Office of Workforce Development, and Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action for the Community Services Block Grant FY 2020, Funds 10/1/2019 through 9/30 of 2021, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any relevant documents. This will be moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Mr. Adams, and we do have an amendment, Ms. Carleen.
Yes, sir.
So we have an amendment from the floor to item number 38 by Councilman Jerry Jones, 211 of 20. Add in the 4th whereas paragraph and replace Stacy Savoy, interim executive director, to, I'm sorry if I'm going to say it wrong, Dion Gazari. I apologize if I'm saying it wrong, Dion. Executive director. That's your amendment, Mr. Jones. I got a second by Mr. Adams on that amendment. Anyone would like to discuss the amendment? Does anyone have any questions on what we're doing with the amendment? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Now we'll move to the original resolution as amended. Any discussion on the original resolution as amended? There being none, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item 39, resolution approving amendment number 2 to the agreement between the Louisiana Workforce Commission, Office of Workforce Development, and Lafourche Parish Council, Office of Community Action for the Community Services Block Grant Fiscal Year 2019 funds, 10/1 of 2018 through 9/30 of 2020, and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer said amendment and any and all relevant documents. Moved by Councilman Jones for the administration, second by Councilman Adams. And I do have an amendment from the floor to item number 39 by Councilman Jerry Jones, 211 of 20, add in the fourth whereas paragraph and replace Stacy Savoy, interim executive director, to Dion Gazari, executive director. And on that motion, I've got a second by Mr. Adams. Would anyone like to discuss the amendment to resolution number 39? Everyone clear? That being said, we'll move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. We'll go back to item 39, resolution as amended. Any discussion on the resolution as amended? There being none, move it to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item J, Parish President, Department Heads, Directors, or Managers' Reports, Presentations,
Chairman.
and/or Updates. Mr. Perilou.
I think the administration would like us to consider unanimous agenda on a resolution.
It's an item from the floor. You all should
From
have
the
a
floor,
copy of it.
yes.
I don't know anything about an item from the
It
floor.
hasn't been passed out. It was a
Okay.
last-minute thing. Here, I'll pass it out real
So,
quick. just-
Mr. Chairman?
I was made aware of that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't have a copy of it.
Yeah, if
Okay.
you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I'll explain it while Corey's passing it out. We have a piece of equipment that went down. The repair cost is over the $15,000 threshold that is required of us to bring before you guys to actually authorize the repair of. And it was something that came up very last minute. So instead of having to wait to repair this piece of equipment until the March council meeting, we would like for you guys to consider it from the floor.
Okay, so I would recommend everyone to please look this over. This is for an emergency repair. Before we move this to a vote of unanimous introduction. I'll allow anyone to have questions of the parish president before considering this as a unanimous agenda. Anyone? Anyone? Okay, so on a motion by Mr. Perilou, second by Mr. Wendell, the following resolution will be introduced and adopted if we have unanimous consent. And I will read the resolution, which is a resolution accepting a low quote of MPM Diesel Service Incorporated in the amount of $20,912 to repair excavator E66 at the Lockport Field Office and authorizing the parish president to sign, execute, and administer any all relevant documents. I'll move this to unanimous vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? So we have unanimous agenda item. We have unanimous consent to consider this resolution. So now we will move this to a vote. We have a motion by Corey on the agenda item, second by Mr. Lorraine. Anyone have any discussion on this item? Any discussion on this item? Yes, Lockwood Field Office. Yep. There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Got a motion by Mr. Perilou, return to regular agenda, second by Mr. Wendell. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Mr. Lorraine.
Thank you.
Not the unanimous, but
No, the resolution. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So where I was at was item J, Parish President, Department Heads, Directors, our Manager Report, Presentations, and our Updates. Item 40, representative from the Department of Public Works to present a monthly report as per ordinance 6036. And Mr. Barone, you have the floor, partner.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is, like I said before, this is a pretty cookie-cutter presentation as to what y'all used to seeing. If y'all want to see something different, just let us know. We can change it up, but it's brief and explanatory at the same time. Sorry. This is Arm Street. We dug the ditches. Jefferson Street. Blossom Court. Here we had a big problem with water holding back. A few of the residents, when they experienced a lot of rainfall, the system was half full at the start of a rain event, so by us sweeping this outfall ditch, I think we're going to give them a lot of relief. This is more of the same project. This is in the same neighborhood, but on Cascade Drive. Jeff's Levee, we cleaned the levee canal. You see a finished product here. This is a rank pump station to clean the reservoir. Uh-oh. Let me try backing it up and coming back. There we go. The Meadows, installing of a driveway culvert. Anthill Drive, digging ditches. Bayou Blue bypass, clean and swept the ditch. Chisholm Trail, installation of a driveway culvert. And completed. The false right-of-way, swept drainage ditch. Coon Drive, clean and swept drainage ditches. D. Dupre Street, clean culverts. District 5 drainage ditch, clean the ditch. District 5 drainage ditch, clean ditch. Marcel Street, replace collapsed driveway culvert. Io Street, dug ditches. This is Cypress Villa and Gaines, changed driveway culvert and swept ditch. Cypress Villa. Clean culverts after the sweeping was done. Fantastic pump station, cleared debris of a before and an after. St. Anne outfall, clean and swept outfall. Texas Street, we dug ditches. This is the Lockport boat launch, the removal of the dock for the contractor to get in there to start the dock repairs. This is a before and after. East 43rd Place, a new driveway culvert installed. East 63rd Street, we swept an outfall. West 21st Street, clean and swept outfall. This is West 58th Street, replaced the culvert. This is a cross culvert underneath West 58th Street. This is a pretty big in-house project that we're working on that should be wrapping up very soon. East 100th Street, swept outfall. East 216th Street, installed subsurface drainage. West 163rd Street, swept ditch. And West 183rd Street, repair the grading. The end. Questions?
Very good. Any questions for Mr. Barone? Mr.
I got a
Lorraine?
question for him. Do you sleep at night when it rains?
No, sir.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we haven't got much rain yet. Wait till come April, May, June. Everybody gets woken up. Mr. Wendell?
Yes, sir.
I just want to thank you, Dylan. There was a lot of work going on in District 5 the last couple of weeks, sweeping ditches, cleaning culverts. There's also been several culvert permits that have come through in the last probably 3-4 weeks, and you guys are knocking them out quickly. So
Yeah. Thank you for noticing that, Mr.
District
Jim.
5, thank you for quick action.
Yeah, and if y'all see any of our guys, man, they do a really good job, so thank them when you see them.
Mr. President?
I've also been to the barn and talked to those guys, and it's just
Just
quite
all
a bit of
direct.
communication.
Mr. President?
This isn't for, you can sit down, Dylan,
Okay,
if you're
thank
done. If you don't, I have something besides Dylan.
No, I want to comment too. I want to thank the Lockport Barn because I've been having from stolen stop signs lately to crack catch basin center, and it's been getting taken care of quick. So thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Certainly.
All right. Well, we'll go to item K, questions for the administration. You want to make a comment? Go ahead.
Yeah, so just a couple of things. I know that I've talked to Councilman Adams about this. We've gotten a few calls and received some discussions about the trees along Laurel Valley Road. For those of you who may drive that, there's a lot of dead trees along that thoroughfare now because of some levee breaches that the Corps put in place. So we'll be in there over the next couple of weeks trimming some trees and helping get those, away from the road a good way, so if the wind blows really hard, they don't fall off and fall into the roadway, causing some obstructions for the motorist. So we want to let the public about that. And I'd really like to commend not only the administration, but our new intern that we brought in. If you guys look behind you on the TV, we're going to be rolling out a new parish logo, kind of doing some rebranding and changing the image of Lafourche. So you'll start to see these on some press releases, our letterheads. So we're going to officially roll it out to everybody in the offices next week, and you'll be seeing it on some of our social media and some stuff like that. So
Very good. I look forward to getting a shirt with that on the back, fishing shirt from when we travel to advocate for Lafourche. It's something we really don't do a good job of when we go to, like, the police jury association. We kind of all just wear whatever. It'd be nice if we all had that big emblem because other groups do it.
Yeah.
Ms. Lorraine?
Yeah, Archie, you ever had a chance to check with the Veterans Affairs see if we can get a day in South Lafourche?
We did. We emailed them the night or the morning after the meeting. Our contact, who we did that agreement with, said they were gonna funnel it up the chain. We haven't heard anything back with them. So I know Kelly's back there, so we'll follow up with that again tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
see if
why
we can
don't
get an
you
answer
check
from them.
just to see, you know, if we let it die, then it's not gonna worry about it. But thank you.
Very good. Mr. Melvin, you got a question for the
Yes, sir. I just
administration?
had a real quick question, Archie. I know that this item came from the floor real quick, and I was just looking, MPM Diesel, Doggett, and H&E. Well, MPM and Doggett have a lot of writing, there's handwriting, there's all kind of printout stuff, addresses, names, numbers. I'm just wondering what H&E is, just after the fact, because I was flipping through as fast as I could. I see one blank field and then a phone number, but, and a person's name, but I mean, where are they out of? There's nothing.
Ms. Melvin, H&E, and the reason the numbers are so different with H&E, they want to replace the radiator and a lot of other things on this piece of equipment that we think we can get by with. We're trying to spend as little money as possible to get this thing back up and running.
Yeah.
That's the difference in the numbers. H&E is a really big company. I think this H&E is somewhere out on the Wallens.
Okay, that's
And that's where we got the piece of equipment from. So we did bring it back to them to work on it, but.
Yeah, that's fine. I would just like to get an idea.
Yeah, sure.
All right, very good, Mr. Melvin. Brings us to item L, council reports, presentations, updates, and/or questions. Mr. Jones.
I'd like to ask Ms. Gazer, Ms. Dion, if you want to come up and say a few words and introduce herself to the council.
State your name and address for the record, just so we can get the record real quick, ma'am. And we'll move to the discussion, dismissing the meeting. It's not on. Yep, there you go.
Good evening. My name is Dion Gazry. I live at 406 Carla Drive in Thibodeau. And I just want to say thank you for considering me for the position. And I want to be able to move the organization forward and be progressive in it. And I look forward to working with each and every one of y'all and the staff.
Very good, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that. Yep, good luck.
Ms. Dion, we want to say good luck to you.
Yep, absolutely.
This council, the administration, advisory board is 100% in support. If anything you need, feel free to come. I know you've been in Desert Storm, but you're going into another one, so.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am.
God has it. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, item M, discussion, number 41, discussion regarding dispensing with Lafourche Parish Council's second meeting in February 2020. Got a motion by Mr. Wendell, second by Mr. Grove, that we dispense with the second meeting in February due to the Mardi Gras holidays. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? There being none, Mr. Jones.
Yeah, I'm for it, but I just want to announce, Crew of Shaka, Sunday.
Crew of Shaka. There you go.
12:30, Thibodeau, Louisiana.
Yeah, very important and personal to Mr. Jones. Okay, no further discussion. Move to a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0. Item N, I will entertain a motion for adjournment. I got a motion by Mr. Perillo, second by Mr. Grove. With there being no further business, Lafourche Parish Council regular meeting of February 11, 2020 will be adjourned at 6:38. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 9-0.